Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Elm City Lit Fest podcast. I'm Ife Michelle Gardine, founder and creator of the Elm City Lit Fest. Elm City Lit Fest is a celebration of the literature, literary arts, and literary artists of the African diaspora. We are based in New Haven, Connecticut, which is the Elm City. And this evening on our podcast, I am so excited to be in conversation with Mildred and Steve Sapp, Universes.
Hey.
What's up?
Yes.
Welcome. I'm so excited that y'all are here.
Thank you. We're so thrilled to be here.
And from Oregon.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're not from Oregon. No. We're from New York City, but from the Bronx, but we're calling from Oregon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Out
there. Caught up in COVID. Supposed to be in New Haven with us. Everybody's safe and well. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
So I want to get into, like, first of all, the piece that I just saw sing their names.
Yes.
All there for Long Wharf. And I want to say the first time I experienced you all was Party People.
Oh.
Yes, in New York and in Oakland.
Oh.
My brother's in the Bay Area. So I was like, when I heard about the partnership with Long Wharf and the playwriting workshop, I was like, oh shoot, I hope I get in this. they cool because I in New York you did a talk back with Kevin Powell.
Yes.
Yep. That I was like, been a fan ever since.
You were keeping all of this a secret. I didn't know you had seen it and everything.
Yes, twice. Because when I was on the West Coast, it was there. And I was like, oh, okay, let me go. Come on. From my brother and sister-in-law along. So so here at Long Wharf. So how did you and Long Wharf hook up? Were you friends with Jacob?
We were friends with Jacob when Jacob was a young producer at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, actually. When Party People were first commissioned by the Oregon Shakespeare Festival.
Like 2009, it got commissioned.
Yeah. So, and it premiered in 2012. So we've known Jacob since around 2010, 2011. So we knew him then, and we reconnected at the Public Theater when Party People went to the public, and that was in 2016. So we're not old friends, but we friends.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
We've been watching each other's journey.
Yeah, I mean, and what I love about and I've been sharing it. We've been sharing it your website and information on the Elm City Lit Fest page is the current nowness of your work. Like it's like so involved and it's real. It's like everything in real time. So enjoyable. So let's get to how did y'all meet? How did you two meet?
Dun. Okay.
The whole thing.
All right, let's go from the beginning. Beginning.
So
in the beginning,
I was a senior at Bard College in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was in the HOP program at Bard.
Mm-hmm.
The man who ran the HOP department, Alex McKnight, talked me into staying an extra year to work on theater. And I was like, I'm not trying to stay, past 4 years. And he goes, you got 5 years of eligibility that they're going to pay for it. Just stay. So I was like, okay, the HEOP program is the Higher Education Opportunity Program at Bard College. So basically, it used to say anyone.
Now it's BOP.
Now it's BOP.
Okay.
And so it was like, and I hate to say it like this, but it was like any kid who was economically
inner city kids.
Yes, you got to
Children.
go to this this private college. So I stayed this extra year to be like strictly a theater major. I like really committed to it. And the first day of going to register, I go to sign to register the first day of class. And Alex goes, Steve, this is a freshman. Her name is Mildred. And she had her head down and she looked up at me. And I was like, I got stuck. And then that's how we first met.
Well, I was also a project child. He was from the Boogie Down Bronx from Forest Projects. And I am originally from the Lower East Side from Jacob Reese Projects. And so it was like, it was one of those things where sometimes we say you get sponsors, right, in your life that open up doors or say, hey, why don't you look at this college, right? You're not even thinking about that place, but somehow you're supposed to be there. So so I applied for Bar 2 and I got in, obviously. When I got there and I met Steve, right? So obviously we were smitten. But hadn't really spoken to each other or anything like for real, right? Like we were just like, oh, he cute. Oh, wait a minute, he's not from up here. Like he looked like a New York City person. So I'm like, I could do this, right? So
he had that Boogie Down swag.
Yeah, he knew how to. Let me tell you, Steve has always known how to dress. So I was like, what is going on here? So anyway. We're at Bard College. I'm 18 years old, young, and like trying to figure out what it is I want to do. I go in as a literature major. Steve is a theater major, and he's putting up his senior project at that time, and he's like auditioning people. So I was talking to Alex, and he was like, I was predominantly like a singer, and he was like, why don't you just go and audition for that? So I showed up and I auditioned for the thing, and Steve is there, and like the story is long, but like I did get cast, and I keep hoping that I got cast on my merits.
Yes, you did, because what she's saying is, I always tell a joke that I'm sitting, I was getting ready to produce my first, my senior project, and I was directing it, and I didn't know what a director really was supposed to do at an audition, so I knew I was supposed to have a table. And I had an assistant who had a pad to act like they were writing something. And then it was me. And so Mildred walks in the room and I lean over to the guy and I go, oh my God, it's that girl from the first day of registration. I'm going to put her in this show, right? So then I sit back, right? Completely like nervous. So she starts singing. I'm like,
this is our little love story.
So then I'm like, oh my God, she can really, like, she's singing. So then I leaned back over to him and I'm like, oh, she's definitely in the show now. Like,
I grew up in the church, so I knew how to sing that kind of way, and my mom, like I'm Puerto Rican. So I grew up, my mom is a singer and a poet and a songwriter. So we grew up around a lot of music. So, he recognized the style that I was bringing, because as New York City kids, we heard it all. We lived with it. It's really interesting. I just want to say, because we're on the West Coast right now, and this is something we almost never get to talk about, is how segregated communities are throughout the country. You know what I'm talking about? And unlike in New York or on the East Coast, that we have communities that actually grow up together and live together, like Black, Puerto Rican, Dominican communities were always, there was never a difference like that. Right. So you come out to the West Coast and people kind of look at us a little bit strange. You're like, oh, this is not a normal thing here. But anyway, yeah, so we got together at Bard, and that's where, during Steve's senior project, where we started developing our aesthetic, which is how Universes has been working ever since. And Universes is our theater company. But we use that aesthetic that it was birthed there while we started building our relationship and trying to understand how we can mix different voices together and tell the politics of who we are as a people, So from the very beginning, all the stories we've always told have been stories about our people, our neighborhoods, our truth. unfiltered. A lot of times, that's kind of the thing that has blocked us from maybe more doors opening for us, is because we've always been real with like the stories we wanted to tell.
Yep.
And how did the name Universes come about?
Now, I think it's funny and it's cute, but it turned into something beautiful. I mean, we were Mildred and I founded an organization in the South Bronx called The Point.
It's still there.
Community Development Corporation. It's still there. It's a 12,000 square foot building that we turned into an art and culture center that we literally renovated from scratch.
With 2 partners, and it's still there.
Yes.
It's thepoint.org. Go check it out.
And it was a 12,000 square foot building. 4,000 of it was space. Then the rest of it was businesses owned by people from the community. So it was a restaurant, a barbershop, a record store. All of that was inside of the building, and they paid rent, which paid for the entire space.
We built it from scratch.
And out of that, thank you. And out of that, and it was a beautiful experience in terms of something that was literally started from nothing. Community people coming and being involved, helping us renovate and do things like that. So out of this cultural institution that we started, the group Universes started. And we were sitting around one day, and it was like really just friends hanging around, trying to figure out. Somebody invited us to do an evening at the New York Poets Cafe, and we needed a name. So we were sitting there for hours and every corny name you can think of was said. And so at like about 1 o'clock in the morning, we were like, we got to leave. Hector Rivera, who was in a
the Welfare Poets
poetry called the Welfare Poets, said we should just name it Universes from the Bronx Side. So
was that the 90s?
Yes.
Why are you trying to date us though?
No, because I live. Okay, so I'm born and raised in Connecticut, but I lived on and off in New York.
Mm-hmm.
In Brooklyn. It was kind of on the scene a little bit. So
yes.
I was thinking, I kind of remembered a little bit of that.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, the early to mid 90s.
Yeah, that's when we came through. And so we decided it was like the last thing. We're like, all right, Universe from the Bronx Side. Yes, that's what it is. And so that was our name for a little while. And then we had a member in our group his name was Lemon, and he was from Brooklyn.
His name still is Lemon.
His name is Lemon. He's from Brooklyn. Lemon Anderson. And he kept saying, yo, Steve, like the group is called from the Bronx Side and I'm from Brooklyn. Like, what's up? And he was saying all the time. And I was like, you know what? I hear you. So we cut from the Bronx Side off.
And we left
Universes. And then one night,
for Lemon. For Lemon.
We cut it down. And so we had a show one night at Symphony Space. Mm-hmm. And like it was called Black Love, Love Black. And it was through BAI. And it was like the Last Poets was there. Mm-hmm. It was there. It was just like everybody in Black literature and cultural stuff was around that particular event. And Luis Reyes Rivera caught us outside in the street. And he said, you know what Universes stands for? And I can't even quote what he said, but the way he said it about the stars and the voices all combined.
We are all we are each one a universe in and of ourselves.
And it was like literally on the street. It was like we were blessed, and we were like, our name is Universes, and we've kept it ever since.
Right.
Especially coming from Louis.
Yes.
Yeah, Luis was incredible. He's like one of our mentors that just like we just followed him and watched him and tried to learn as much as we could. So while he was around.
Yeah, we come from that cloth, and that train that link is where we come from in the poetry. So it's funny that we're in theater, and some people don't even know where our poetry roots, how deep it goes, or who we're really connected to, what our lineage is to get.
Who taught us, right? Yeah. So like we've always been like a different kind of beast in the American theater. And it's because we have the swag of New York City poets and the poets that came before us, right? These revolutionary poets, like Sandra Maria Esteves and Sonia Sanchez, Amir Baraka, Willie Perdo, like people who were like doing, like fighting for voice, So it's like that's kind of the way that we've entered this American theater, and American theater sometimes doesn't understand that. But it's who we are, and we just keep riding with it.
Yep.
And you gotta be careful what you ask for, because sometimes the crackers be asking for things. they really get the thing. They're like, wait, you bringing too much, because your projects, like all of your projects are revolutionary. Like the revolution is live. Yeah. So could you just like talk about some of the projects you've done across the country, the impactfulness of them?
We when Hurricane Katrina hit, we were in the process of writing a show about the history of fear in America. That's what we were tinkering with. We went to Salem, Massachusetts, where the witch trials, or they have like a museum where you go through. It's like a whole. We did the
That's
whole.
What we thought we were gonna do,
and we thought we were writing that until Katrina happened, and it made us literally stop. The piece look at a sound check from what was going on in New Orleans, and
how the world was, just leaving us behind, right? How New Orleans was, they were saying those people over there, all those poor people over there, and we were like, excuse me, and being Puerto Rican, I kind of also have that feeling, right? Like every time something happens in Puerto Rico, it's those people over there. People don't even know you're American citizens. Same thing happened in New Orleans. It's like people treating them like they weren't American citizens, like they weren't us. So we started wanting to tell that story.
So we wrote a piece, like a 10-minute piece, to New Orleans. And it literally turned from, I'm gonna tell you the short version, but it literally turned from doing a 10-minute piece into being an entire 90-minute piece that was commissioned by the Actors Theater of Louisville for us to write a piece, we eventually called Ameriville, which was us going to New Orleans and talking to folks and hanging around for a while, and then sitting with ourselves and a choreographer who's from Louisiana, Millicent Johnny, and Che Yu, our director, and we just kind of went in, and it turned into something that, we knew it was going to be powerful. It was at the Humana Festival, so that was a big thing, and our aesthetic. But we toured that show all around this country
for years, and I think the last one was in 2015. In 2015, that it was done at Western Michigan, University of Western Michigan,
with their students.
Yeah,
which is where the adventure ended up. They called us in could we remount the show, which was written with 4 people for 13, and would we perform with the kids there to do America. So we kind of restructured it and stretched it out.
But that's only one of them. We did another play called Party People, which is about the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. We've done
Unison, which was based off the unpublished poetry of August Wilson. We just did that in 2017. And we got a couple of interesting things in the hopper, so that we're commissioned for. So I mean, to be honest with you, we and then we tour also our Live from the Edge event, which is basically a greatest hits night, so to speak, where we can go somewhere. If they can't afford the big bells and whistles, we'll show up, give us 4 or 5 microphones, and step back and watch and let us go.
And we choose some of the political material that we can hit with.
Yeah, so we performed that all over the place. When we were creating Party People, and when it was in New York, and we were getting ready, we were in rehearsal. The Panthers from Queens, the New York chapter, had something in the Queens Library, and we came out there and performed sections for them. Like, that's where we come from. So even though we do theater things, when we're working, you want to take it back to the clubs or take it back to straight poetry in the community, standing right there. We don't need no lights. We don't need nobody. No microphones. It's just us.
Sometimes microphones help.
So when you take something like a piece to like you say you went to University of Michigan and other universities, I'm sure, and you work with students, and it's like a lesson for them. Like, people hear about the incidents, but when they really have to get into the back stories about the incidents, like it transforms them. So can you talk a little bit about like that experience, what that experience has been for you in the different places you've been in?
With bringing these stories to like younger people it's the thing that drives us, right? For young people to be able to actually get into conversations even with Panthers and Lords, or with to have to go in and do the research and find out what it was at this event. what it means to like our whole culture, our whole ecosystem. With Hurricane Katrina in particular, is how do we react in the future? Trying to analyze what were you doing during that time? Did you take any action? If it happens again, when it happens again, what will your actions be? It's really about having these conversations where people can open up their way of thinking, and they're kind of just like how to move forward. And they have to deal with the material because it's real. It's based on reality. Obviously, it's all fiction. We create fictitious plays, and it's not autobiographical all necessarily, but there are composite characters that we build where we're telling these stories, and they have to kind of know this is the world you live in and how do you move forward.
And when we do talkbacks, we make sure that we stay to the end of the talkback, like in terms of when people really stay to really kind of commune and talk. For example, at the park, we were doing party people. And after one of the shows, they were like, okay, there's going to be a group having a talk afterwards. You guys can stay if you want. So we happened to be, we had changed. We were sort of coming back, and there was a group of women in there, and they were sort of in a circle, and we kind of poke our head, and then like, come. And they were all women whose daughters were murdered by police officers.
Say her name.
And they were called Say Her Name. And so we ended up standing there with them for another hour. And they went around the circle and saying all the young women's name who were murdered. Just that moment of connection with them, and them coming to see our show just randomly. Those type of connections are the things that we work for. This is why we do the work that we do.
I mean, we've done stuff that we've been, we were really blessed at the early beginnings to be able even to go and do prison work, to do work at like youth detention facilities. Mm-hmm. One of the stories that we always remember, and we send our love out to all the brothers out in Sing Sing prison. We were blessed to be able to spend a little time with them and share just a little family time, or a little bit of like what it is that's going on the outside. They shared with us what's going on the inside. So sometimes it's not about, the gig, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's not always about the gig. It's more importantly about the lives that you can come in contact with and connect with. And you don't always know where those people are or what place, even how it's going to affect you, right? Because you always say, oh, we're going to go and we're going to help impact this prison community. But it's like, actually, that prison community impacted us. You know what I'm saying? And we talk about it to this day, how those brothers took such good care of us. And we're so open to the conversation, and we're so welcoming of, us just bringing some of these stories to them, and going and getting into dialogue. So, especially when you're talking about folks that have been removed from society, those folks are very much alive and very much still a part of us. So even all the work that we've done with the prison community or with, juvenile facilities, it's like that's really, it's so important that every artist and every young person who we interact with understands that. And we hope that in the future they will also, kind of take it upon themselves and become part of that communication.
Yeah.
That's like the Nina Simone quote: an artist's work should relate to the times.
Yes.
So when is there, and I'm sure there has been a time where because a lot of times American theater, like everything else in America, because I be talking like blackity black, but the white folks, like I said, they ask for something. And when they get it, after they paid you, they like, oh. But so has there ever, can you speak to a time or a couple of times where there's been, I'm sure, a shock factor for some white folks?
I mean, to be honest with you, in terms of our work, if it doesn't happen, and not that you do it on purpose, but if it doesn't happen, especially when we're in theater, and in traditional theaters, it's a little weird when you don't push their buttons. But I can tell you, off the top, just recently, but just before coronavirus hit and shut everything down. We were at the Cincinnati Playhouse doing our latest show called Americus.
This is last February, March. We got
this back. March, and literally walk out on the stage, and we must be on the stage all of 5 minutes, and you can see the face and everybody getting all upset and mad because we're talking about politics, and we're talking about Trump, and it's all kind of poetic and musical. We haven't really attacked. We're just kind of setting it up, and you can see people's faces crumbling in the seat. So you're like, oh my, like we're gonna have to work hard, tonight just to get the room here. Yeah. But then when the Black folks started coming through to the room,
and you get audience participation
because they knew what we were doing. So they were laughing in the spots they were supposed to laugh at. They were going, where they were supposed to go, It taught the white people how to kind of listen to what was going on. Politically, whether how they felt or not was one thing, but can you follow what we're doing enough to be able to hear the people talking? And so, to be honest with you, on a regular basis, every time you step on an American stage, especially doing the work we do, yes, you're going to get funny faces. We've had people walk out. We've had all that. And it actually makes you laugh. Like, wow, these words on this stage made you get up and walk out this room mad. It's actually funny just in terms of knowing what we really are trying to do with the work, that if they actually stayed, that there's actually real conversation. If you really, real enough to have it, we're right here.
Just learn how to listen. Learn how to listen.
It's a everyday thing. And we tell younger artists who are working, you really focus on the work. And if you focus on the work and you know what you're saying and where it's coming from, and not that I don't care who's in front of us, I don't care who's in front of us. You know what I mean? They don't move us either way, in terms of what we have to say. It gets you more riled up. You know what I mean?
Well, there have been times. There have been times where, like, even in Party People here, there was a time, and I don't remember what was she doing that Steve just started, like, in the middle of his monologue. He was like, "Oh, you scared?" And it's actually in the recording of Omar's rant. If you listen to it, and when he's saying, "You scared? You scared?" It's like there was that moment where it's like people in the audience, and every time he said that, people would just be like, and it is like, yeah, that we knew that it was scary. It's a scary thing to have a Black man ask you, "Are you scared?" So it was kind of like, yeah.
But so we challenge and we push and we try to bring the realness of our communities and the people who we know, who love hard and feel hard, and they don't necessarily always talk the way you want them to talk, but it's coming from a real place. And so we give voice to those. I mean, every facet of our communities we give voice to.
Yeah, and I just want to say also that all of the members of Universes, like we have, right now we have 9 members, but even like the core members who have created these plays, we all created them collectively. We're an ensemble company.
Yes.
But everybody's voice, like it's so amazing because we came together organically, but everybody comes with the same intention and with the same point of attack. So if Steve is coming with that same kind of like point of attack, you got like 4 or 5 pit bulls coming at you. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. Yeah. Like when we get on stage, it can be so much fire that it's like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I can handle it. If I was in the audience, like I keep waiting for that moment where I'm sitting in the audience and I want to feel that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't happen often, but I know that we're intentionally delivering it that way because that's how our communities, have raised us. And it's like, the have-nots finally getting a chance to speak. And step forward and take the stage, and this is ours, and now you listen.
Yep.
So that kind of just existence that we've had as Universes, I think has fed all of us, and we get a satisfaction out of being able to tell or kind of you project the voices of your people out onto the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we have a question from Facebook. It says, how has the pandemic impacted the type of community connection that you have in your work?
Well, to be honest with you, we, obviously between social media and our family, things like that, we've stayed connected. But on a deeper level, in a very weird way, looking at our folks I guess through social media and talking to folks, you can see where they are in their lives. But also for us, this is a chance during the pandemic to reconnect with who we are, and to recharge our battery. I think it's what I've learned as I've gotten older is you can't help everybody if you're too depleted or you're tired. So finding moments to really kind of rest and get yourself ready, because every time we come out, it takes all of our essence to really kind of pull off what we do. So, and we know it's like when we're on in terms of like, you're not just doing the show. You're doing the talk back. You're hanging out. It's like a whole thing that comes with interacting with community. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's like, oh, we're just going to go eat. Like, that's a thing. Like, like that's a whole part of it.
Job.
So, to be
Get
honest,
yourself fed.
To answer the question, exactly. I think getting in tune with ourselves has us back to our communities in ways we're not running around, be actually sort of settled. And so we're reconnecting to our roots. We've been reconnecting to our families in a deeper way.
Yeah.
Than
poets.
To a lot of poets we haven't spoken to in a long time. So it's been a rewarding just in terms of being settled and being able to sort of reconnect with folks that way.
And then I think another thing, because we're now all living in these little boxes, and on Zoom and, StreamYard and all the things, and, understanding what this new culture is and the opportunities at first is like, we all kind of have, screen fatigue. But then once you get it together, you're like, oh, wait a minute, but I can see so many more people that I would be able to see or have like full conversations with people, even like our family. Like I have a scheduled every Friday Zoom meeting just to see faces, even if it's for a short moment. And that's really important. And then having this opportunity at Long Wharf, where we actually get to interact with artists from 3,000 miles away, every Monday at least, or now, like, with one-on-ones just beginning to be able to just have a conversation with artists and hope, like see what they're hoping for, like what you guys are wanting to write, what are you creating, what are you thinking, also having dialogue with Long Wharf Theater and seeing what the possibilities are for, the nurturing of these, local voices. Like that is like from 3,000 miles away. It's a blessing and a curse, right? Because I wish we were around everybody, we could hug and we can kind of, we could break bread. You know what I'm saying? We could break bread together, but it's also a blessing because we've learned how to do this so that when we come together, we can break bread together, whatever, and then we kind of come back apart and we go about our business. We can also still come together. I think we'll remember this and we'll say, well, let's just have a Zoom meeting, right? Even after this has happened. So I think it's just going to become another tool that we're going to become used to. And we're going to be like, well, that's all right. I'm over here, but I can still, let's hook up at this time. So I think it's just, teaching us new ways of being with each other, and caring about each other a little bit more, right? That's why we're not traveling. That's why we're doing this. That's why theaters are closing down. And, it's a sacrifice, but I think in the long run, it just shows how much more love we have for each other. It's a self-check.
Yeah.
You two have such a synchronicity. So how is it working with each other as a couple, as a married couple?
And I'll be honest, we've been together for so long creatively, that it just makes sense. It's like completing a sentence. It's like having somebody who gets you in a way that could push you. I know the benefit of being able to, when we travel and we go on the road for months on end and in different cities, this is who I'm rolling with. You know what I mean? Like, who's going to be rolling with you and riding with you. And it's a blessing to have someone who's a love partner and a life partner who's also a creative partner. But and also we have a 20-year-old son. And so for him to be able to see art and activism move in such a way from when he was a baby till now is a beautiful thing to watch and experience, to see the world through his eyes as he's been traveling around the country, to travel around the country with each other. We've been to Morocco, Tunisia, Turkey, Romania, Amsterdam, London, Sudan, Poland, all doing poetry and music that we bring with us from the projects, which we bring with us from our islands, that we bring from our ancestors. We carry all that. So to be able to have a partner to really kind of ride with, for real, like Ozzie Davis and Ruby D and Ashford and Simpson, you know what I mean? That's just that old school, our parents, like, it's that old school love, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, they've been together.
He's making me blush.
You know what I mean? It's real, and we were coupled, and we go through all stuff that couples do in terms of working together and getting on each other's nerves and all that type of stuff, and learning how to give each other space and pull each other close and give each other space. But that's what work is. And
we try to I agree. I think that when we first came together, we always partnership, right? When we made that commitment to have a partnership, it wasn't just a love partnership. It was like, everything about you I want to know everything, all your passions, your dreams, what are the stories you want to tell, how do you want to tell them. I want to know your voice before it speaks, kind of like this. Just like sometimes people write something and like, I'm his biggest fan, and he'll tell you, like, I'm always like, that's amazing, I just like, please read more and write something else. And kind of like we're cheerleaders to each other, and just like, we also know that there are opportunities that we can have alone, right? So we don't have to do everything together. And I think that with time, we've learned that, right? So as we've gotten older now, we're like, oh yeah, of course, you know what? You have more of this passion, go for it. I have more of this passion, go for it. And then we meet, and we meet in the middle, and we come back together. But we do know that the strongest voice that we've built together after all of these years is this. You know what I'm saying? This is what belongs to us collectively, right? And that no matter what American theater says, what it wants from you, like sometimes people have said, oh, but you're not musical theater. It's like, oh, you could call it whatever you want to call it. No, we're not following the American musical rule book, but a white person wrote that. And what we're following is the rule book of how our people sing, how our people use music, how our people move through life, right? And that rule book is written by the people you've been around, by where you come from, by the food you eat, by the religion you practice or don't practice. Like so that's kind of like been our philosophy together, is like, you know what, no matter where we are in the world, we have to move forward with what we know is true. And what the truest thing is us, you know what I'm saying? Because we know we got us and we got each other's back, and people will come into your life. Steve says it all the time. People are in your life for seasons, right? So this season you were blessed with that person in your life, you know what I'm saying? And now they're no longer in there. Maybe they'll come back another season. Maybe they'll loop back around. But as long as you have the thing that you understand the most, and and you preserve it and you protect it, and you continue to love it, right? And you respect it. So I think that we respect each other's artistry. We respect each other's families. We respect each other's like upbringing, and like even though we're both project kids, we're different. We're even culturally different, but we're the same too. So kind of just like, if you're ever in a relationship, and this is just a little relationship advice. For all the young people out there, if you really want to do this, you got to be like really in it. You got to be in it to win it. And like I found a lot of people who be like, oh, well, I gotta be the man. I got to pay the bills. Sometimes I paid the bills. Sometimes he paid the bills. And it's always been that kind of a partnership where it's like, look, we're going to go on this journey together. I'm not behind you. I'm not in front of you. We walk. And sometimes I might have to carry you. You might have to carry me. If you're not willing to do that, don't bother. Until you're ready to do that, just take your time. Don't rush into something that you're not really committed to do and committed to live with for the rest of your life.
Oh, wow.
That's my mama Mildred speech. Don't waste the time until it's right.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So how do Mildred and Steve wind down together and separately? How do you, because is it all work?
Oh no,
it's not all. I will tell you this, it's not all work, but it is all work in terms of we are constantly.
Sometimes the wind down becomes part of the work.
Yeah, like it's always creative space going on in terms of music playing or what we're watching on television. It's always, even if we're watching a series and we're like,
analyzing it.
We're literally breaking it down like, oh yeah, we're watching a series, but we're really, really, looking at pacing. And then, to be honest with you, we're fun and we're silly in terms of
we play video games.
We play video games.
We play video games, and we just like forget about things, and even if in the background we got the news going on, so we still know what's happening in the world, we escape into, whatever. We have to find those moments where it's like at the end of the night, you're just playing the most random game. It has nothing to do with anything, and you just escape into it for like a few minutes or, an hour or 3. And then
and even when we're on the road, if we're somewhere a week or 2 weeks.
Movies. We love going to the
movies.
Okay.
My son has seen Disneyland and Disney World more than he's wanted to see.
We love Disney.
Because if that's where we are, we're in LA. Or we got a show like, we go to Universal Studios for the morning and then go to do the show at night. Like we've done that just to kind of to ease it off. Because again, to do this work is all encompassing. And when we're in, we're really, really in.
I got to tell you, once earlier on in our relationship, before Quest was born, we went to Disney World, just the two of us, like no business being, like everybody got their kids, everybody got a tribe, like all the little kids crying and screaming and running around, and we're in the Peter Pan ride, just the two of us, like, yeah, and then like that's kind of been our life, where it's like we're gonna go, we hang out. We kind of came together in a hangout situation. We hang out together. We can go to Disney together. That we went by ourselves and we were like, "Ooh, this is cool!" Like we just go and we just be, and so we go to the movies and we do just like regular things to kind of just forget about it all. And then when we end up coming back, we'll bring, all of those experiences. Because the thing is, when you're writing political theater, you have to have moments of joy and release inside of a play, right? So it's like, you can't just come at it with like, okay, revolution.
Oh, God.
Even you look at the Black Panther Party, they were moments of joy. They would throw parties. Mm-hmm. Right? They would throw parties, they would dance. And so we try to bring all of that, even our own moments of release and laughing and whatever. And if we're doing a thing about movies or Disney, it all ends up in our play. Because you cannot fight a revolution without some joy in it, without just like release and a way, like these exhaust valves. You need to have them. And the audience also needs them when you're creating the work. The audience needs to be like, oh, good, this is a funny moment. Let me relax. And then here it comes again. You know what I'm saying? You can't just keep a barrage of like revolution on top of people, because that's not how humanity works, right? Humanity, we ebb and flow. It's like sadness and happiness and escape. So we have to build all of that into what it is that we do. Yeah.
And we have to recharge and rejuvenate.
Yes.
And within our struggle, because the struggle always going to be there.
Oh yeah.
The opposition is always going to be there.
Yes.
But we have to find ways of maintaining our joy. Don't let nobody steal our joy, but I call it a recharge and rejuvenate, because we're ready for battle. Like I really admire I just really, and even in the workshops and in seeing you all performing, I just really admire the synchronicity of the relationship. It's really commendable. I love to see Black love, color love. When it comes to like adding people to Universes or building the company, there's a synchronicity there too, because everybody's like you like, I love theater, live theater so much, because it just brings you to that place. Like it puts you in a place as an audience member that's intimate. So how does that come into play when people audition? Do you select them? How does that happen with people in Universes?
Well, to people who've stayed, or when I mean who stick,
people who made it,
it's really an organic vibe. I mean, it all started off with just friends hanging around in the scene, who were hanging out with each other, and it was like, oh, you got a poem, you got a song. Why don't we do it together so we can get more time on stage? Cool. and it organically developed like that. So we've kept it as organic as we can. Whereas like it's more energy and vibe and seeing if people can handle different situations in terms of performances or
right
workshops.
time, right place.
Yeah, so it's really like almost like a trial in the fraternity sorority settings, almost like somebody's online, so to speak. And they'll go, and we don't say it, but it's like they go to different things, like, you know, like, oh, we call them a hit, where we'll do a night, one night at a club somewhere, and we'll tell somebody, all right, here's your 5-minute slot. You know, in the middle of our set, you got 5 minutes, go. Yeah. And step back and see if they can hang. You know what I mean? Like we've had all those type of experience, and then just people's energy and vibe. Who do I want to be hanging around? We really are about good energy and good people around. Yeah. Because we roll like a family. So we eat together. And
our children come.
Our children know each other and around each other. So it's all of that. Like if somebody got kids, you now have uncles and aunties all over the place. Like that's what this is. We just happen to, you know what I mean? But in terms of how we move like a family. Yeah. So it's really been organic. Like the people who was in the company, we love them like family, you know, like, and so that helps. If the family love is there, the work part is almost the easy part. You know what I mean? In terms of like, I know why you're here. I trust why you're here. And we can go from there.
I mean, we've had auditions in the past, and we haven't like mostly for like, you know, like for actors who come into the plays and stuff like that. So, but for the core writers, right? So the universes is the main universe. I'm trying to pick up the light here. The main universes are writers, right? So we have to be able to click with their writing, right? The storytelling that they're telling, the way that they're telling the stories have to connect and just like move us. It has to be like, oh, I totally hear your voice and where it's coming from. What is this about? And I want that to be, I want to mix that up with mine. And then you have the actors, right? Who there are some incredible actors we've been blessed to like have, you know, do some of our work. And even that though, there has to be, when we're even casting shows, it's like the actor has to have this passion for their own life, right? This passion for where they come from, you know, no matter what their nationality is. It's like, you got to know you. Don't come here trying to be this, because we don't need that. You know, don't come here trying to fit this mold. We don't need somebody who does what I do, what Steve does, what, you know, Ninja Jamal, any one of us do. We need somebody else who can do something else. So if we're going to maintain that idea, like Luis Reyes Rivera was talking about, each one is a universe, each one is different, but all belong together, right? Then that's kind of when people who come through the universe's journey and suddenly end up staying, is because they just fit into their own space. It's people who try to become the space that didn't make it, and we've never fired anyone. We've never told anybody no. They just kind of come in and out and in and out. And it's like that has been the most organic and beautiful thing, because then it's like, because there's no love loss, and there's always been an experience that kind of like we benefited from that person coming into our life that season, and hopefully they benefited from us being in their life that season. But yeah, like obviously Universes is a theater company of color. We never really say it, but it is. Like all of our members are members of color. But we have been able to play with a lot of actors who, you know, white actors, like all kinds of, you know, nationalities who've been able to come in. But the predominant writers, because we have a similar voice, and not because we have excluded anyone yet. Who knows? Like, we will have a playwright join us, you know? But because that opportunity hasn't happened yet. But hopefully it will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another question, and we kind of touched on it, but from Facebook Live, what are your thoughts on the We See You White America Theater demand?
Well, we signed up on that. We're one of the original 300 people who signed on the We See You White American Theater document. We've been part of this community that has been trying to figure it out, you know, for many, many years of our life, trying to figure out who we are in the American theater. Obviously, we benefited from a lot of the work that has been produced in American theater, but we see it. We see what's going on, and we see what the opportunities are available to us. A lot of times it's Black History Month, Latino History, Heritage Month. That's when we get bookings and things like that. And it's like, it's a time that people want to speak.
And we've been sort of saying all those things in that and for a long time. So to hear it as a
new generation,
new generation of a unified voice is actually really exciting and dope to hear. Everyone has to be prepared though, and this is my activism brain kicking in a little bit. It's like, all right, so when you demand something, and the person says no, then what? Like, how far are you willing to go and take?
What are the consequences?
What are the consequences? So in terms of, and that, not just that, that's with anything. So when you really push yourself out there, where are you prepared to go with your demands? And I mean, in white American theater, they know exactly how things are too. They just sort of being called to task. And do you want to be a part of a system? Because even if you get a job, or even if you get a play inside of these white institutions, what the structure is still a white structure inside of a white institution.
Right.
So in the long run, you want to be part of that, or do you want to create your own lane and your own vibe and your own organization where you can move and do what you want?
And you can move in and out of it. We created Universes 25 years ago. We're our own theater company, 25 years old, and we just move through it. And we don't need nobody like, kind of saying, oh, this or that and the other. And it's like, we just try to figure out how to do it on our own. We're still trying to figure it out. And how to kind of go from community theaters to regional theaters to, it just kind of be part of all of it, the whole ecosystem, and see how to make it better, right? I think that's the main goal of the We See You movement, is like, how do we fix some of this? Because this is not going to work anymore. How do we deal with these issues, these experiences that people have been having, right? There are some folks who are about like, let's dismantle the whole thing and rebuild it. There's other folks who are like, well, can we just fix this part? And there are a lot of different voices trying to be heard at the time. So right now it's just a time to listen and to be available and to just see where it is that this new generation is going to take move this forward, right? Because it has to move forward. The whole world is changing. It's not just American theater. The world is doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is your son a poet? How could he not be? But
he's actually a singer, musician, actor. It's organically in him, and he's been around, he's seen things, he's experienced things. I've seen him have an amazing conversation with Bobby Seale in the lobby of a building, which was so special to watch him kind of get it, and to watch how Bobby interacted with him for that amount of time was really special. Because someone told me once, if you want to know a panther, who a real panther is, see how they interact with older folk and children. And so when Bobby walked up and we spoke, he turned to my son and literally ignored me for the 10 minutes and could talk directly to my son and didn't talk down to him. They had a real conversation. And I was like, wow, look at that. So my son has been around, or our son, he's been around a lot of stuff, and we're trying to let him organically go to these places.
He's like in film. He's like in film. So, he's been studying film for a little while, and he's like, well, he doesn't think he wants to be a stage actor, but he's like, maybe a screen actor. And he's been singing. So there's a couple of videos on our Vimeo where he's singing. Like, he's actually created one of the things, kind of like after we did the Sing Their Name video, he created his own one about the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that, and just his voice singing in it. And I think that, he's really talented and he has a gorgeous voice, and I'm really excited. He's a good dude.
He's a good dude. He's a good soul. And if anything, we've helped raise another good soul, good human being in the world. So that's a good thing.
Okay, so what you got? Well, can you mention how many things you got on the horizon? Like, I know you got like 50 million things y'all got. I'm trying to figure out how y'all got time to have one-on-ones with us, but it's okay. I'm gonna schedule mine.
We're trying to figure it out. We have a lot of things that actually have been on the burners. Well, the most recent thing that got announced is we got commissioned to translate Shakespeare's Hamlet for a play on Shakespeare. So that just came out a couple of weeks ago, and we're really, really excited about that. How often do project kids get to translate, invited to dance with the bar, right? So we're about to do that. We also have a play that was commissioned by Long Wharf Theater called Maria that we've been working on for a little while, and we're trying to see how we can move that one as well. We have some good stuff that we're working with there, and that's dealing with Puerto Rico and Hurricane Maria in particular. The house music piece.
We have a piece that we're writing on Frankie Knuckles and house music.
Yes.
As yes, we're so excited about that one.
And we've been working on that for a while. And we have a play we're working on called Africantic with the Jiva Theater. And that one deals with...
It's sort of the history of America, or following a song or the beat from Africa all the way through to here. So we're following out with the beats in Africa, how songs came on the slave ships, all of that through jazz and bebop and hip hop and trap music, really, and telling the story of America and our people through that journey.
Wow.
And all of them?
Yeah. So that's that. And is that.
And then we have other projects that now, because of coronavirus, we've been kind of shifting in a couple of different ways, and we have a couple of projects that we're working on for, the digital sphere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we're really excited about.
Yeah, we have,
those are coming soon.
Yeah, 2021 or late December. A lot of product is going to start dropping in of us, so we're excited about all of that.
Yes,
I'm excited too. I have my godson's name is Devon Glover. He is called the Sonnet Man, New York City. He raps the Shakespeare sonnets.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Look a brother up.
Okay.
Sonnet Man, New York City.
He's from Brooklyn.
Oh, all right.
Sonnet Man NYC. He's done a lot of Shakespeare's festivals around the world. But yeah. So that came to mind. You said that. I always think of the Devon, the Sonnet Man. But I want to thank y'all. You guys, I appreciate you coming on and speaking with me. I appreciate it. I really do.
Ife, and then more importantly, we're gonna get the playwriters, right? So at Long Wharf, we're working with the playwriters. Ife is one of the members of the playwriters. I just gotta give it a plug, y'all, because you have got to see what's coming in the horizon. All right. So we have, I think it's about 13, right? 13 playwriters, I believe, around there, who are just right now crafting new work and bringing that voice from New Haven, just like it's about to be real, and I'm really excited. So that's a whole other thing that we're doing, and working with you all is an honor. And we're just excited. Like today we had a meeting with Joy, and it's just like we started those one-on-ones.
Joy.
The world, I don't think the world is ready, especially for Ife. Ife, y'all need to know. I'm not gonna say it, but Ife dropped some pieces in our group. Like when we get together, just lighting it up when we're in the room.
Yes.
Acting up.
I love it.
Well, I appreciate you all, and I thank you so much. And blessings. I'll be in touch. We'll see you. And everybody, Universes.
Universesonstage.com.
I got a donation box too. So I'm people getting paid.
Well, you can find us at universesonstage.com, and we'll post whatever we're working up on there. And we look forward to the future. Everybody stay safe, and so that we can connect sometime down this journey on the road.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you, everyone. What do you say, Sandra? Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This has been the Elm City Lit Fest podcast. Elm City Lit Fest, a celebration of literature, literary arts, and literary artists of the African diaspora. And we just been talking to Universes. I am Ife Michelle Gardine. We are signing out. Deuces. Oh, I forgot to mention Giving Tuesday. Oh, Charmaine and Emily, who are my team on Elm City Lit Fest, will beat me up. But go to our Facebook page, go to our website, Elm City Lit Fest, and click donate for Giving Tuesday. Give us a Christmas present. We appreciate it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.